Hello everybody, welcome. Today MUSEL is in the VRlab of the Deutsche Museum, the world's biggest museum for science and technique. My name is Angelika Schindel. I'm the press voice, the PR voice behind the MUSEL idea. And with me, live from Dakar, is Kofi Sika-Latsu. He's the creative director of MUSEL and gaming professor and designer. And we are very pleased to be here today and have got invited by Mrs. Andrea Geipel. And I would like to ask Andrea to introduce herself, speak about her and her expertise and her work here in this wonderful place.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here, and I'm looking forward to your and Kofi's questions later on. Here, that's the VRlab, so we're part of a bigger research project which is called Museum 4.0, and it's a research project among 6 institutions here in Germany, looking for how to use digital tools and digital storytelling in museums and exhibitions. And here in Munich, I am in charge for the part which is dealing with 3D scanning, augmented reality and virtual reality. And the VRlab is kind of the biggest part, or at least the most visible part. And it's it's a lab, so where we experiment together with our visitors to try new things in virtual reality. But we also do augmented reality applications, prototyping, and we have a 3D scanning lab. And I think it's a nice way to experience and to test what is going to happen and what we can do in museums with digital storytelling. I would say the daily challenge is to constantly keep in mind and also sometimes to convince people that digital tools and digital storytelling is something that is a helpful add-on to work in a museum, and it's not a replacement. So it's not like the real word against the digital word. It's always an add-on, and it's something we should try. And I mean, all the daily little problems that most of the museums don't have Wi-Fi. Something like that. Yeah, it does, because now we're under deconstruction. Half of the museum the rest of the museum is still open. And when we started to put out all the exhibits from the exhibition areas, we had time to digitize them and to bring them into the digital life, let's say it like that. And also, I mean, the other way around, so with digitization, like the VRlab, we can now still show something like the lunar roving vehicle, which is a really great exhibit, but right now it's not for display, so people can't watch it, but they can experience it in virtual reality. So when it comes to classical digital or virtual tours you can experience from home, we have the possibility to go through the whole museum from home in 360. And there I recommend all the exhibitions that are closed right now for sure, because you can't visit them in real life and you will never be able again to visit them because it's under construction. It's going to be totally different. And when it comes to the VRlab, I would say go on the moon, even if just from learning ideas I prefer the steam engine, but to be on the moon is a really great experience for sure. Hi Kofi.
How are you,
Yes,
Andrea?
we can start. I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Fine, very fine.
So, what questions do you have?
Okay, so regarding the fact that you work in Dutch Museum, specifically in the VRlab. What is your, I think your understanding of the fact that, for example, VR, virtual reality, is a gaming technology. So a technology will come from the gaming industry first. And today, this technology is widespread in many applications today. So what will be, from your perspective, working at the Dutch Museum, your relationship between the museum and the gaming industry via the VR technology?
Okay, so I mean, even with virtual reality coming from the gaming industry, I would say that, I mean, it's very common also in research and in a couple of working areas already. And it's also very good for learning experiences, because this special thing of being immersed and having the feeling to be in another world helps to emotionally connect to what you learn. So there is some form of still entertaining perspective, which I think is totally in line with what a museum should be, because it's about experiencing something new. And with virtual reality, you do that. You experience something. I mean, you not really grab it. You can really not put a finger on it, but you have the feeling as if it would be like that, because it's different to just watch a video or to just watch a text. You really experience it. And I think this emotional connection is important.
Perfect. Regarding my second question, we will take the situation right now. We are in a COVID-19 era. All the planet is in completely lockdown. All your museum manage the distribution or the spread of your VR content, for example, to people in a lockdown, for example, via Oculus Quest, for example, or all these VR who are now very affordable for people that they can catch him in house. What is the relationship of distribution, for example, from the content inside the VR to reach this audience right now, for example, in a lockdown?
That's very difficult, actually, because we're working on that to bring the VR content to the people at home, which is something that takes a little effort in terms of the technology we have to use. But we're more, we more try to play, let's say, with virtual tours where you can walk through the museum, but also with to transform the virtual reality experiences we have here to 360-degree videos too, because it would be great to give the people at home, even without Corona. So I don't like to just explain it like because of Corona everybody's at home, but to be honest, there are a lot more people that are not able to visit us in our museum even without Corona. So it's more inclusive anyways to do it. But the inclusiveness is gone when it comes to who is able to afford technology like an Oculus Quest.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why we try to do both, to also have 360-degree videos, which can be watched with your computer, but also with a cardboard or something like that, or to have a virtual tour.
Exactly. I think that is a good balancing to reach more audience and also to take into account the cost of the technology. I think that is something very important today. So shifting from this apprehension of the audience, what will be, for example, your point of view about this transition, about the behaviors of certain generation? Because today, when we talk about museum in 2020, we know that the new audience to conquer is the millennials, because they are digital native. They are very comfortable with the technology, right? But what will be your point of view comparing all right now museum need to shift, for example, from a boomers generation who already consume the content of museum, but a conservative mood, and right now try to do things with technology, with immersion regarding the millennials. What will be the force rate between the two generations?
I think it's always a constant process of learning and adaptation. And it's always, it's a process of also of kind of fighting some fights, because, there are always people who want to keep it as it is. And I think that's why it takes time to adapt to something like that. I think that museums will still be important, but maybe in different terms, like speaking of museums being the third place, which is this nice term for thinking of museums as community places where people can meet and discuss topics, and not still being a place of just getting access to knowledge, because we have access to knowledge nowadays everywhere. So it's more about the exchange and meeting, and I don't know if this necessarily has to be digital. I think the digital part becomes important in terms of inclusion and reach out and becoming more international, because I think that after COVID and even without COVID, it would have changed that people travel to every museum and that people become aware of that it is also important to count the digital visitors and not only the real visitors, like the ones who are really passing by.
Okay, so I think that your answer is interesting, but if we try to last question, if we try to regarding the situation right now, where because just the pandemic, the rate of users, for example, on Zoom is booming. The audience of gaming because they are at home is booming. So we are shifting and we are seeing a complete digital transformation from everybody. Do you think that this moment will be a persistent moment, that we will be obliged to do more things with the digital in the future?
I hope so, but I have the feeling that it's going to be, I don't know, maybe it does make the process of change faster, but not as fast as we think, because now it's faster and we feel like we have to do the digital stuff. And also the people who are still afraid of the change, they also have to, but as soon as we go back to something that is close to the normal life we knew before, they will also kind of slow down again. So there will be a change, and maybe it's going to be a little bit faster, but not as fast as we maybe hope.
For sure. Thanks a lot, Andrea, for this very clever, I think, and interesting answer. I will let the voice now to Angelica for the following of this interview on MUSEEN Talk.